This is a great month to have this conference here in October because this month we have had high tide, king high tide, we've had red full moon, and rain. So all of our streets have been totally flooded in the east part of our city, all surrounding the intercoastal and right by the beach on A1A. But the water is coming because there's nowhere for the water to go after when they start rising. When the intercoastal gets filled and when the all the lakes get filled, all this it comes right out of the sewers. So the streets are totally flooded, and it's very difficult because you can't go to work, you can't get your car out, your lawns get die, your bushes die because it's all salt water. So it intrudes into everything in the surrounding area. We have pumps almost everywhere. We've added new pumps. They all work off of generators so that if we have really more flooding, then we don't have to worry about it. But really, you can only pump if you have a place to pump the water to. We put in floodgates and flaps. We put them in here in South Lake, and we're looking now to go ahead and put them in North Lake. It's something very similar to what they did in Miami Beach. It does help. We put in more drains. But like I said, when the intercoastal and the streets and the flooding are all at the same level, water only goes down. It doesn't go up. So it's very difficult to push it out to anywhere else. But we are trying, and we're listening to every other city, every other community, of what they're trying to do to make all our cities resilient. The community is looking at the leaders and people like myself and our mayor to go ahead and try to get grant funding and monies to take care of it. This last flood, the water not only came out of the drains, went all over the streets, but now it's coming over our seawalls. And that is the worst type of flooding. We will really need to make our city resilient, probably close to maybe $50 million just to raise all the sea level, the seawalls, all throughout this whole coastal area. Plus, we're working with FDOT because a lot of our problems are also on A1A, which is between the intercoastal and the Atlantic Ocean, and it's a road that is totally flooding. They raised the road, but now the water is draining onto the people's property. So, you're darned if you do and darned if you don't. That's why I'm so happy to be here. Because, we need to work this together. Take all these coastal communities, take the best, greatest ideas, and try to see how we can become resilient and how we can improve on the problem. This is the most important part, and that's what really made me so excited about coming here, because it's a nonpartisan issue for all of us. This has nothing to do with if you're a Democrat, Republican, or Independent. I say, it's a DRI for really achieving a plan for sea level rise. And we need our politicians in Washington to help us with this. Whether they're a Democrat, or Republican, or Independent, doesn't matter. This is for everybody. We need to protect our residents, our citizens. We need to make their area safe. But also because the economic impact of being flooded out, you could lose everything you own. Most of our most expensive homes are in coastal communities. They are our tax base. We lose that, we don't survive. How do we pay our bills for a city? You could lose everything. It's our economic engine. It's tourism. We don't have beaches, and we're flooded. We don't have an economic engine. And how do we pay our bills? What'll happen to the people? And if the people do not start seeing something getting done, why, being a realtor for 28 years, why are they going to buy in a coastal community? Why would they just go somewhere else where they don't have a flooding problem? So there's your driver. It's economics, our tourism base, and then your restaurants don't get people going to them. You don't have people cleaning the room. It just goes on and on and on. So we've got to start really working at it and make the people feel comfortable that the government, that the federal government, and all our politicians are all on the same page with this. I think the media and the papers have done a great job about making people aware. Really, for a community where you're flooding, it's not the people that live in a city where you're a coastal property. We have to make people that are not in coastal areas understand what's going on. Why would you want to come to Hollywood or Fort Lauderdale or Miami if our beaches are all gone? What are you going to be going there for? How are you, if you live there, how are you going to make a living if people aren't spending money in your cities? So, it just goes round and round. If you don't put money in and fix these things, you're going to have a basic, really big economic problem. Plus, most of the people that work, you're also going to have a problem with poverty. Because you know what? Not only is the economic engine important in the real estate market, but a lot of these people will not have a job. And then you'll eliminate people because their homes are flooded because they still live in an area. It's just not always on the coast. It goes up into poorer areas. They lose their home. A lot of them cannot afford to live there anymore because all our coastal insurances have gotten so high. Between what we're paying for flood insurance, windstorm insurance, and homeowners, people that bought their homes, and including myself, saying, I'm going to live in my house forever. I love it. But then, bingo, you get a bill from Citizens Insurance for $10,000 for windstorm and $3,000 for flood and $4,000 for homeowners. And then they tell you you've got a $60,000 deductible. I mean, you're going to have to be a multimillionaire to live in a home that you bought in order to exist. And you know what? That's why this country needs a national catastrophic insurance policy. We can't handle it, and the people can't. If you're going to pay $18,000, $20,000 on a $400,000 house for insurance, then let me ask you, how many people are going to afford to do that? That's close to almost $2,000 a month in some instances, and even more. Plus your taxes. We haven't even gone there. So now you're making it unaffordable even for the middle class. This is not even about the poor. This is about the middle class now. So their investments are all at risk if people that are leaders in their communities and in this federal government don't do something about it. No. Well, I'm going to tell you what I really think. I have chaired the South Florida Clean Cities Coalition for 14 years. I have been really a proponent of telling people that we need to get off of oil products. We've always said we just wanted to get our independence off of foreign fuel. Now we're making our own fuel. Who's doing what to what here? I mean, you know what? Why are we producing oil products? Why don't we have an energy policy? Why don't we say to these people that you cannot be using, go to CNG, drive electric cars, and why aren't they more emphatic about it? Because really the biggest problem, you can put up solar, but your biggest CO2 emissions come from automobiles and your fleets and your trucks. The truckers that are bringing things across the state. I mean, most of them are still on diesel fuel, and they really produce a lot of carbon in the atmosphere. Then you've got more and more people on the roads. The more people on the roads, the more CO2 you could cause greenhouse gases. But you know what? Where do we start? Chicken, egg. We get a little bit of money from the federal government, not enough to do anything. Like I said, 14 years I've been going to Washington, to Florida, to Tallahassee, asking for money so that we can have marketing materials to try to educate people. But you know what? It's next to impossible. Somehow their ears are closed, But they have money for all these other things that are like off the wall. But the real important is to get an energy policy for the United States of America. And we should start it years ago, and not just today. So I have a real passion about this. 14 years with alternatives, and we're seeing some headway, but not enough that it's going to make a difference. Not when you have gas